Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. I hope you guys see me in this video because it is sunny and parked in a position that is makes the sun flash from behind instead of the front. This is a video that was requested by a YouTube subscriber, okay, by the name of Bella Alamin. Give him a shout out since he actually, in a way, motivated me to look into this topic that he wanted me to discuss. It's a request at the end of the day. Moral ontology and moral epistemology concerning Islam and atheism. Okay? So let's tackle it. When we talk about moral ontology, we talk about objective morality. Does morality exist out there? Okay? Or does morality exist in general? Okay? That's the question. When we talk about moral epistemology, can we distinguish between a true morality and a false morality? This is it in a nutshell, okay, briefly, because that's what I'm going to be doing, and hopefully this video is a quick video to tackle the basics, because this is a deep topic in meta-ethics and in philosophy in general, the philosophy of ethics, which deals with applied ethics. Okay, as far as I'm aware, there are three type of branches in the philosophy of ethics: applied ethics, meta ethics, normative ethics. Okay, these are the three that I came across. Applied ethics, in a nutshell, is just how we carry ourselves, or how we conduct ourselves ethically on a daily basis, personal life, in a profession, societal, on a social scale, pretty much. Things that deal with technology, things that deal with abortion, these type of things. And by the way, and also, what else? At work, basically, governmental, politics, applied ethics apply in such context. However, applied ethics, normative ethics, meta ethics, all of these things, okay, correlate in a way and overlap each other. Just like some of the things that I'm going to be mentioning may overlap Islamic thinking and atheistic thinking, if there is any, to begin with. So now, when we talk about moral ontology, is morality objective? Is morality mind independent? And this is a meta-ethical discussion. What is meta-ethics now, since I've already discussed applied ethics? Meta-ethics deals with what is morality. What is morality? Okay? So it deals with the epistemological question as well as the ontological. If I'm not mistaken, this is what I've attained from my knowledge, according to my knowledge. Also, normative ethics deals with how one should behave and act. Okay, this is normative ethics. And under these ethical positions, there are subcategories or subdomains, if you may call it that we can tackle as well. So moral ontology, back to the topic, so I don't digress too much, or I don't lose not digress, because it's not tangential. Everything correlates and is on point. Nonetheless, not to lose the audience, moral ontology asks the question: is morality objective? Is morality objectively true, and does it exist mind independent to our mind? Okay, just to jump the gun, I'll tell you straight up, as a Muslim, I'm not a divine command theorist. Okay, divine command theory, from my understanding, is basically when Allah commands something, it's good because Allah commanded it. That's it. But this is a bit of a problem now. Okay, because what if Allah commands something that we know innately is not good, like killing babies, for example? We would say this is not from Allah, because Allah is omnibenevolent. Therefore, Allah would not give us such command. Okay, it will go against His omnibenevolence, His goodness, His good nature, and His essence. This is where goodness stems from. This is what morality stems from. The ethical, where ethics stem from, So from God's basically omnibenevolence and also omniscience. Okay, because God is omniscient, he's the most wise, so he knows what is good, he knows all the butterfly effects if you're a consequentialist. So this is it in a nutshell. It's predicated on Allah. Okay, objective morality is mind independent Islamically. Okay, because a lot of atheists will say no, this is subjective because God can change his mind. God can change his mind in terms of, this is the example someone gave, Abraham and his son. Whether it's Ishmael or Isaac, as a Muslim, we have no problem with it, okay? But, some people have become tribal, Anyway, tribalism is bad in and of itself since we're discussing morality. But not to be tangential, they talked about Abraham and his son. Abraham was commanded, according to them, divine command theory, was commanded to go and kill his son. Then God changed his mind, according to them, and told Abraham to slaughter a ram instead of his son. This is not the interpretation. This is an eisegesis instead of an exegesis. They're superimposing on the scripture. Abraham as a prophet, just to explain it in a nutshell, prophets receive revelation. And in such revelation, they can be tested through dreams. Okay, so it's not just revelation through an angel that comes and gives them revelation through speech while they're awake, but also while they sleep. They can receive revelation and dream about things, and such dream has to be fulfilled. And that's what the prophet Abraham was doing as a test. And when he fulfilled it, even though he was hesitant, but he did it nonetheless because he knew it was from Allah, because that's how a prophet is Islamically. They receive revelation through dreams. This is a big topic. I'm not going to discuss it here, but how they receive revelation, that's a different topic than the topic at hand. So basically, he dreamt of slaughtering his own son, and when he took a knife that was sharp, and every time he tried to slaughter the son, it did not work. Now, if God changed his mind as they claim to be, God would have allowed the knife to cut his son's throat, but it did not cut his son's throat, even though it was a sharpened blade. This entails causation. Okay, I'm an occasionalist. A lot of Muslims don't agree with occasionalism. They go with secondary causation. Allah commanded the knife not to have the cause and effect that it normally has. Okay, because I'm an occasionalist. So in such way, Allah did not command Abraham to do such thing, which would be immoral in and of itself. Allah tested him to see his patience and to see his obedience, because he said, إِذْ قَالَ لَهُ رَبُّهُ أَسْلِمْ قَالَ أَسْلَمْتُ لِرَبِّ الْعَالَمِينَ. When Allah asked Abraham to submit, he said, I submit to the Lord of all the worlds. Okay, so he submits means he obeys, and obeys all of his commands. But it is not divine command theory, because in and of itself it's not a what do you call it? It's not a benevolent act to kill an innocent boy. Okay, so in such a case, but Ishmael or Isaac, whoever you want to take as the son in such context, he basically obeyed his father, and because it was from Allah. Because Ishmael was a prophet as well, so he understood and he was patient with his dad. So there's a lot of nuances and a lot of morality that stems out. The moral of the story is that we have to be obedient, based on the reason, because Allah is the most important. We're just contingent beings. And if an argument for God's existence is another argument outside of this discussion. So now someone might say, okay, so then Allah sent them a ram, and it's objectively moral to slaughter rams and animals in a halal way, in a merciful way, and that's it. So this is the objective morality in a nutshell. Okay, we're allowed to slaughter animals and eat them. They're subservient. The cattle, even the horses, are subservient. We ride them, the camels. So these all stem from Allah because Allah is the omnibenevolent and He commanded him. Objective morality is predicated on, is anchored in a divine, omniscient, omnipotent, omnibenevolent being. Okay, so it is mind independent because it's in a mind that is not of creation but of creator. Okay, not a creature. So my mind and your mind, we're all the same. We're all humans. We're all creatures. God's mind is not like ours. He's omnibenevolent, omniscient. Okay, omniscient means he's the most, he's all knowing and he's all wise. Okay, so in such case, he knows the butterfly effect if you're a consequentialist, and we're not consequentialist as Muslims. Just to make a caveat, I'll delve into that in a bit. It's been 10 minutes now or 11 minutes, and I'll try to make it short. It might be 20-minute video, 30-minute video. I don't know. It's a huge topic. Now, someone might, a Christian might pop out of the woodwork and be like, what about Al-Khidr? He killed an innocent boy. There is some interpretations about who Al-Khidr is. I personally haven't ran across an interpretation that fulfills me intellectually or even spiritually, that is in line with what I just said about not adhering to divine command theory, but adhering to what Allah says, because Allah is omnibenevolent. In and of himself, he's good. So it's mind independent. In Allah's mind, we will not equivocate between creation and creator. Okay, it's mind independent on an omnibenevolent being, omniscient being, omnipotent being. Okay, possesses all the omni attributes. Okay, maximally great being. So you can't really say you can't really say it's a mind just like us. You'll be equivocating just like when you say the flying spaghetti monster. Why don't we believe in the flying, like delay, pugnacious, arrogant, cantankerous, philosophically illiterate, inept atheist? They say, oh, believe in the flying, Scott Daddy, bro, Scott Daddy, flying spaghetti monster, the teacup, like Bertrand Russell, the teacup. The hell is that? Get out of here. You're an idiot. So we don't believe in that. We believe that because you see, and unlike David Hume when he talks about the is and ought, and I know I'm all over the place with it, but I'll try to fix all this at the end because this is just how I give it, you know. So when he says the is and ought, he's an empiricist to begin with. We have to know what he fundamentally looks, what's his worldview, how he operates, how he attains knowledge. From my understanding, David Hume was an empiricist. So the is and ought problem does not apply to us because we are not empiricists. We're talking from a spiritual realm. Morality is a spiritual realm. Okay, it does not apply to the realist approach from a posteriori type of knowledge. It's a priori. Okay, it's a spiritual realm. It's innate. We can apply reason, but we cannot reason objective morality, and I'll explain what I mean by that. Okay, because even like Immanuel Kant, he tried to reason objective morality. People disagreed with him. It ends up being subjective in and of itself at the end of the day. Even if he got some things right, even if he got some deontological ethics correct, you know, some duties correct, some axioms correct, you know, based on the principle of universalizability. But this is where was I? I was at Al-Khidr, for example. Okay, because divine command theory, we're still trying to tackle that. Al-Khidr to me was an angel who shapeshifted in human form. Al-Khidr, anyone will tell you, even Hamza Yusuf will tell you, Al-Khidr was operating on a quantum scale of things, while Musa was operating based on a Newtonian scale of things. Newtonian means Sharia law, is what we use on a social scale. It's what we use when we talk about fiqh, jurisprudence, Islamic jurisprudence, when we talk about things in a court of law, how we operate in a court of law, how we judge between people. This is Sharia law Newtonian, on a Newtonian scale of physics, okay, or logic, if you may call it that. On a quantum scale of logic, if Al-Khidr is operating on a quantum scale of logic, either one can also argue that he was a human being and he was just given authority from Allah to operate on a quantum scale. Okay, that he wasn't an angel, he was just a human being. I personally just like to make life easy and say he was an angel because angels operate on a quantum scale. Okay, this is from my understanding. Angels operate not on a Newtonian scale. So if an angel shapeshifts into the physical and he's just to show another human being like Moses, a prophet, things on a quantum level, like killing a young innocent boy, okay, it's not divine command theory, because Allah would not allow us to do it, because it is He's omnibenevolent, and he does not allow us to do such thing. Now, on a quantum scale, what does that mean? On a quantum scale, it will be equivalent to a natural death. So when the angel of death comes with a scythe, okay, just to make it animated, even though we don't know if he even has one, we don't know how he extracts the soul off of the human being. On a quantum spiritual scale, when the angel of death comes to take your life when your time is up, this is not haram nor halal. This is just the way it is, okay? This is what Allah, we're all going to die. So you can't say that Al-Khidr was operating based on a divine command theory. No, he's doing things that are hidden, that people do not see. Only Moses can see. Okay, but he shapeshifted in the human form. So again, this is not divine command theory. Allah wouldn't command Moses on a Newtonian scale. Okay, since Moses is a prophet, like Prophet Muhammad and Prophet Jesus and all this, and Abraham, dealing on a Newtonian scale, on a Sharia scale, just like us here in a secular society, we operate on a Newtonian scale in a court of law. We use human logic, abduction, for example. Okay, in law. So this cancels the argument against divine command theory. Okay, this is just me. Hopefully people understand what I'm trying to say if I haven't relayed it analytically enough, because it is not per se, it is rational what I'm saying nonetheless. You can't grasp it. I don't know how else to explain it. Okay, so at the end of the day, you have to distinguish between things. I'm operating based on certain axioms that lead to certain conclusions. Okay, I'm making distinctions. One is operating Newtonian scale. One is operating based on a quantum scale. We're killing babies is absolutely objective. Is objectively. Let me rephrase that. Objectively and under objective morality is wrong. Okay. So when the Spartans used to kill deformed babies, we would say these Spartans did the wrong thing. So it's not subjective and relative. Under atheism, it's actually not even, it's subjective, but I would say well, let me delve into metaethics so I can be more organized with it, because I'm all over the place with it. Okay, because when we delve into metaethics, or let's talk about normative ethics, then the crux of the matter, metaethics. When we talk about normative ethics, we deal with teleological ethics and deontological ethics. Teleological ethics deal with consequentialism. Things like utilitarianism can fall under consequentialism. Things like egoism, ethical egoism, can fall under consequentialism, because it's all based on pros and cons. Let's get out a piece of paper and write the pros and cons and what's going to come out of them. That's not how we Muslims operate. Even Immanuel Kant doesn't operate like that. And that's why I honestly respect someone like Immanuel Kant, even though he shunned the notion of revelation. And he said anyone who claims to be a prophet and does a revelation according to the knowledge that I've gathered is a fraud, basically. But I would say Immanuel Kant made a huge mistake by thinking like that, because he should have thought deeper, even though he's a deist. He's not an atheist. So, teleological ethics, deontological ethics. Deontological focus on duty. Okay, normative ethics, these two branches stem from it, is how we should act, how we should behave. Okay. Consequentialism is not a philosophy we adhere to, because a lot of things can pop out of consequentialism, and it's usually natural law. It falls under natural law, because all these ethics, by the way, overlap each other. Even some of the ways of conducting these moral duties or ethical or attaining ethical matters can overlap Islamic thinking as well. Okay. Like intuition and reason. I mean, we cannot reason objective morality, but we can reason why this is objective morality from Allah. We can reason why we should behave in such ways because from Allah, and Allah knows best, and Allah is the omniscient. We can put it to the test. And in some situations, We need intuition as well as Muslims through God consciousness. No one talks about God consciousness from these deists or even atheists. Obviously, they won't talk about it in under meta-ethics or normative ethics. Okay, Allah talks about God consciousness in the Quran, and I'll get to that in a bit. Meta-ethics has two. Let's finish off with normative ethics, teleological and deontological. Deontological is the Immanuel Kant's. You have a duty, and these duties based on axioms that you have to implement. And if someone thinks that this should be a maxim that we should operate based off, he needs to act in such way. And if he can't act in such way, then what he's saying is hypocritical, and it's not a maxim or an axiom. He cannot implement it. This is just Immanuel Kant in a nutshell. The ontological ethics are based on duties that one adheres to and abides by and obeys, and then he can function in society based on these duties. If every single rational human being does that, because it's based on reason, it's based on rationality, then it will be a better place to live. It's not based on happiness, because someone evil can do an evil act and be happy. So it's not a means to an end. According to Immanuel Kant, it's just an end. Okay, when you deal with people, it's an end. It's not a means to an end, because happiness can in and of itself be defined as evil. If someone is happy based on hedonism, that's evil. Okay, hedonism is not a ethical. It's unethical. Okay, it's immoral. So now, when we talk about consequentialism under teleological ethics, utilitarianism, the greater good for the greater amount of people, pain and pleasure, and what not. What's his name? I think that's his name. John Stuart Mill. I think that's his name. The one who wrote utilitarianism. He doesn't actually engage from hedonism. He actually shuns hedonism, but he still talks from pleasure and pain. Because just because something is a posteriori, it doesn't entail that it is predicated on hedonism per se. Okay, it can just be pleasure and pain from a different lens. Nonetheless, this consequentialistic approach can lead to absurdities and a lot of problems, because we don't know the outcome. And that's what Immanuel Kant was saying under the ontological ethics. We should just operate based on an axiom, which is in line with Islamic thinking, to be honest with you. But nonetheless, he's predicated on human reason and intellect, because he believed human rationality is something sublime, beyond naturalism. It's from God, basically. But nonetheless, we need revelation, because every single one of us have ways of reasoning, and we can differ on a lot of things and basically clash. So we need an anchorage. That's what it is. Based on an independent mind that is omniscient and omnibenevolent. This is where you stem objective morality from. It is not absolute morality, because absolute morality will tell you killing is wrong no matter what. So it's not just killing a baby, it's also killing a man. Killing a man who's trying to attack you and kill you is absolutely wrong. Objective morality will tell you no. Killing a man who's trying to attack you and kill you, the Prophet said, if someone asked the Prophet, peace be upon him, what if a man comes and tries to steal my house, take away my property and my land? He told him, tell him not to. What if I tell him not to and he still tries to do it? Fight him. What if I fight him and he kills me? Then you're a martyr, and he is among the evil people who will dwell in hell. You know what I'm saying? So it is immoral. You have to act in self-defense based on reasonable force. This is our objective morality, and it can apply to basically, it stems from Allah. It stems from the Prophet, who also receives it from Allah. So meta-ethics now deals with, and this is why we're not absolutists. And by the way, the consequentialists can cause that's why Immanuel Kant will say, hey, just operate based on some axioms. Okay, the principle of universalizability. But he did not predicate it on Allah. He predicated it on the human mind under cognitivism, which is a branch in meta-ethics. And now we'll talk about meta-ethics. Under meta-ethics, you have cognitivism and non-cognitivists. non-cognitivism. Non-cognitivism is something that I would argue that is in line with atheism 100%. The dishonest atheist, okay, will tell you, no, we can be realist, we can be cognitivists. I tell you, it's all a mirage. It's all a figment of your imagination. You're just masquerading as someone who's moral and ethical. You're pretending. Might as well go play GTA 5. Because what's the aim and purpose of all this at the end of the day? You have no aim and purpose. And we should do it based on an objective aim and purpose. Under virtue ethics of Aristotelian virtue ethics, he talks about things that I mentioned in the past about he talked about bravery, things that are of virtue, because virtue is a happiness, or happiness is a virtue rather. So he talks about means to an end. Instead of Kant, he'll talk about ends to an end. We should just follow an end, not a means. So we don't use people. So we don't use people as a means to an end. So slavery, for example, the end would be to build a monument. That would be immoral if you use people to do labor just for an end, according to Kant. But anyways, I don't want these are really like complex topics. Let's just stick to the idea of atheism and Islam under ontology and moral epistemology. The cognitivists use their cognition. So their morality is subjective to cognition. Cognition means our thoughts. We can make a propositional claim that is analytical or synthetic. Synthetic means it's empirical. Okay, it's based on our senses. Analytical means our rationality. The non-cognitivists will say, listen, it's all emotions. We're appealing to emotions like the neo-atheists. That's why I say non-cognitivism is actually in line with atheism than anything else. Non-cognitivism is emotivism. Emotivism and prescriptionism applies to the atheist, especially emotivism, because it's just mere emotions. Non-cognitivism is based on when it comes to the moral language, it deals with moral language. Moral language is meaningless. It's not truth apt. It does not contain truth value in it. It's neither true or false. It basically is meaningless. It does not exist. Morality does not exist. Okay, that's what it is. And it's not true nor false. It's just meaningless. Under the cognitivist, they'll tell you morality deals with truth value. It's true, apt, and it's also meaningful. Okay, so I would argue that the atheists fall under that such category that is non-cognitivist, and that morality just all emotions and nonsense. Morality doesn't exist. There's no moral ontology under atheism. It's moral nihilism. Because atheism entails nihilism, believe it or not, but all you guys are pretending, and you don't know the crux of the matter. You don't know the how crucial it is, the consequences. Since if you're a consequentialist as an atheist, your ideas have consequences to them. Okay? They entail something. There's a conclusion. Okay? It comes with a conclusion, and the conclusion is moral nihilism, moral nihilism, epistemological nihilism, and also mereological nihilism if you're a naturalist. And also nihilism is the truth of the matter under atheism. So your emotions are, and we've seen that with the neo-atheists. It's all an appeal to emotions. All the neo-atheists, they appeal to emotions. And then they have the nerve to say that, oh, you can't reason with the religious. The religious, they appeal to emotions. You're an idiot, okay? Go talk to Sam Harris about the moral landscape and talk about a moral compass. Get out of here. It's all emotions. You haven't made a proposition or analytical statement or anything like that. Now, obviously, the cognitivists will say, no, we can make propositions and reasonable and based either on analytics or synthetics, posteriori or a priori, A priori knowledge is what is intuitive and based on reason. So that would be under non-naturalism. Under realism, there's a subcategory that is either natural law or non-natural law. Non-natural law is a priori, like the ontological ethics, Immanuel Kant, or G.E. Moore, which into intuitional. We as Muslims, we actually use our faculties given to us by Allah. Allah commands us to use them. So the anchorage would be Allah. That's the axiom. If you want to compare him to the ontological ethics, Allah gives us the axiom, not our reason like Immanuel Kant, or we don't just imagine that we have, because that's what Immanuel Kant is doing. If you feel like this is, or not feel, if you can reason that this is an axiom, behave like it until it becomes an axiom. He was probably observing Muslims, and from that observation, he came up with that conclusion. You know what I mean? That, hey, Muslims got it right. You know, they operate based on axiom, and that's it. Happiness, it doesn't matter. Because that's what it is at the end of the day. Intuition as well. We use intuition. God consciousness gives us basar, gives us insight. Okay, which is in line with reason and intuition as well. If you can reason and you can intuit things, if you can reason and you're God conscious, Allah would expand your intuition and you'll have insight, because insight is predicated on intuition. Under the realist, there's a realist and an anti-realist. Okay, the anti-realist will tell you morality is subjective, but it exists under cognitivism. Okay, morality is subjective, but it exists. I hope this video benefits people. It's like more than 30 minutes now, but I'm all over the place, I know, but it just, this is how I do it when I'm in the car. I haven't wrote anything. So under realism, you have the naturalist and the non-naturalist. The naturalist is like the utilitarianism, natural law, basically, like John Locke and Jeremy Bentham, utilitarianism, nonsense upon stilts. That's what Jeremy Bentham said, because he knows you cannot have an objective morality unless you predicate it or anchor it in something objective, like Allah, for example. Allah is the one who's going to and that is mind independent, because I just mentioned, do not equivocate. Again, I have to repeat myself. Our minds with Allah's mind. Allah's mind is the omnibenevolent, omnipotent, omniscient. Okay? So now, and I'll give more analogies instead of, like I just gave analogies with Al-Khidr, and I give analogies with Ibrahim and Ishmael or Ishaq. The other one that I want to talk about is consequentialism leads to absurdities. That's under natural law. If you're a ethical ethist who adheres to who's a cognitivist, realist, naturalist, okay, a posteriori type of outcome, either based on hedonism, consequentialism, ethical egoism, a posteriori. A priori, like Immanuel Kant and G.E. Moore, who operate based on reason and intuition. One operates based on reason, Immanuel Kant, intuition, G.E. Moore. This is a posteriori, it's non-natural. Under anti-realism, they'll say it's subjective, but it is subjective. What is the, let me look. Anti-realism, you have individualism, cultural relativism, so it's subjective, it's relative, and this atheist also included divine command theory, but I'm not a divine command theorist, because he says God changes his mind. Allah does not change his mind. The person who made the chart that I'm reading off of is someone who's not theophilosophically savvy. Okay. Overall, I want to end with this. Allah says in the Quran, okay, let me get it for you. There is a university, I forgot which one it is, that basically they put on in the hallway of the university, on their walls, they put this ayah, the sign or this verse from the Quran, where it says,
أو الوالدين والأقربين إن يكن غنيا أو فقيرا فالله أولى بهما فلا تتبعوا الهوى أن تعدلوا وإن تلووا أو تعرضوا فإن الله كان بما تعملون خبيرا.
So this verse is considered one of the most moral verse by a university in the United States. I forgot the name of the university, but they have it in the hallway of the university. They have it posted. They put it as a poster, as a like a plaque. They put it and they said this is basically the most moral verse that they can find. Okay, it's objectively true. And what does it say? What does it say? What's the definition of it in English? What's the translation? It says, "O you who believe, be persistently standing firm in justice as witnesses for Allah, even if it is against yourselves or parents and relatives. Whether one is rich or poor, Allah is more worthy of both. Follow not your desires, lest you not be just. If you distort your testimony or refuse to give it, then Allah is aware of what you do." This is and another verse, by the way, it also talks about وَأَن تَعْدِلُوا أَقْرَبُ لِلتَّقْوَى. And if you actually become just, it is closer to God consciousness. When Allah commands us something, He says, وَاتَّقُوا اللَّهِ, be God conscious, have piety, be pious of Allah. So when Allah commands us anything in the Quran, unlike when you delve into secular ethics and secular philosophy, they don't talk about Allah, they don't talk about God consciousness. Yes, you have to delve into things theologically or theophilosophically, but what are these ethics really? And that's why people come out of academia, the majority of the common people who have a PhD and degree in philosophy, like zombies. Their soul has been executed, has been altered. Their fitra has been corrupt because of some people talking about intellectualism too much and trying to be self-conceited. Where is taqwa? Where is God consciousness? Where is piety? And we Muslims we have colonial amnesia too, to be honest with you. We've been colonially molested psychologically by the white man. Where is taqwa? Allah talks about وَاتَّقُونِ يَا أُولِي الْأَلْبَابِ. When He tells us to perform rites and rituals, we have to have taqwa and sincerity. That's why in the previous videos I used to talk about this stuff. So why is this verse objectively true and morally and ethically good to conduct, okay, to act upon? So its morality is like excellent because Allah commands us to do what's excellent, okay? Excellence is that which Allah instructs you to do, basically. It's excellent. And this is, by the way, it's mentioned in the Quran several times, the same verse in a different fashion. You know, يَا أَيُّهَا الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا كُونُوا قَوَّامِينَ بِالْقِسْطِ شُهَدَاءَ. O you who believe, be persistently standing firm in justice as witnesses. So even if it's against your own self, if it's against your own mom, if it's against your own dad, if it's against your own siblings, if it's against your own relatives, your own neighbors, stand for what is true as a witness. If you're a witness to a crime that happened and you know that person is guilty, this is not ratship, okay? This is not being a rat. This is standing for what is true. Hey man, you did something wrong, confess it and may God forgive you. It's better to confess it in this world and purify yourself because, like I said in the beginning, it is a spiritual aspect. Morality is spiritual. We're not dealing with the physical. Okay, and that's why Immanuel Kant even will tell you it's not about happiness. You just do your duty because Immanuel Kant understood that it is a spiritual aspect. If I'm not mistaken, even though because he was a posteriori, he was a priori, he wasn't synthetic, he was irrational, he was analytic. Okay? And if you honestly, that's why Allah tells us, أَفَلَا تَعْقِلُونَ, we have to use our rational faculties as well to understand why this is more, this is the excellent way of conduct, the most excellent way of conduct. So if I have to do it at a time, I'm not gonna go say, oh, pros and cons. If I'm facing trial and tribulation and I'm going to court because someone falsely accused me, I'm going to say I'm not guilty, and I'm not going to fear the people, because also in another verse Allah says, do not fear the people. Okay? Do not let the hatred of a people prevent you from being just. So if someone is prejudiced, like the white man in the past, be brave, and that's where virtue ethics come from. Virtue is a happiness. Happiness is a virtue, I mean. If you have virtue if you carry yourself with good character and you know this is from Allah and you're God conscious, you will be happy. Even if people wrong you, you will be happy. This is where now people like atheists nowadays, they go to stoicism. They want to be stoic because they got fed up of religion due to the religious dogmas and wars in Europe that made people hate religion and despise it and become liberal. And this is a Christian problem. It's a Jewish problem, more so of a Christian white man problem. It's not a brown man problem or a black man problem. As Muslims, we're happy with Islam. Islam spread organically in West Africa. It's not like we came with a sword and told the Africans become Muslim or enslaved them and then made them Muslims. No, it spread organically. They understood that Islam was true. It came to them naturally, innately. So you have people now, it's a phenomenon now. These atheists emerged out of nowhere, and they want to be they want to find happiness. They want to find, because this is how we're programmed as human beings. We need to be moral. We need to be pious. Okay, and they don't like that. They have an antipathy towards God and towards wisdom. So they go to a philosopher. That's their prophet. Like Sam Harris is the prophet of the atheists. Neil deGrasse Tyson. They want to sanctify and revere people. They want people to be their motivation, so to speak, someone that they can look up to. So they go to someone like someone who, a philosopher of Stoicism, is a Greek philosopher, if I'm not mistaken, forgot his name. And they say, oh, we're going to be stoic. We're going to try to be stoic, and stoicism does not is not predicated on God consciousness. It's predicated on the ego. I'm just going to, try to control my emotions. Why control your emotions and why do all this stuff? Oh, just to find virtue and happiness. Yes, it's true that you can find happiness through such virtue, controlling your emotions. And now this is virtue ethics, Aristotelian ethics. But it's not going to make you happy if you're aimless. Do it for a higher being, Allah. Taqullah. Have God conscience. Have piety. I don't see anywhere in these discussions where they talk about God. It's just the human mind and egoism. It's all egotistical at the end of the day, okay? It's all individualistic, to be honest with you. There's no difference than the individual who says morality is subjective, and the individual who says morality is objective, and one is a non-cognitivist and one is a cognitivist, or both are cognitivist, and one is basically saying it's subject. Because under cognitivism you have two types. You have the the anti-realist and the realist. The anti-realist is subjective. He says it's subjective, and that is true. I agree with them. The realist can be an atheist and just pretend. This cognition. Can you account for your human cognition and rationality? No, you can't. So this is it in a nutshell. I don't think I need to cover anything. This is like a 1 hour video. I'm gonna have to deduce it and cut it down. It's like almost 50 minutes. It's a huge topic at the end of the day. So I'm gonna throw everything in it, and then I'm going to edit it, and try to make it concise and short. Okay. Thanks again to Bella Alamin, a YouTube subscriber, the Muslim brother who told me to discuss this topic. It opened up my vision to what morality is. Not for, Alhamdulillah, I was always someone who conducted myself based on Islamic morality. I tried my best at least. But when I delved into other morality briefly, I realized that these people really have nothing. Just like the atheists, they're bankrupt morally. It's amorality, like if you go into amorality, just like science. Matter of fact, it's moral nihilism. Okay, under atheism. Under Islam, Allah, omnibenevolent, Ar-Rahman Ar-Rahim. Okay, and He commands us to be just. Justice is a virtue. Okay, bravery also is a virtue, like Aristotle. That's why the only two people that I can agree with who are not Muslim is Immanuel Kant. I agree with some of the stuff he says. He's closer to the Islamic thinking than anyone else. And Aristotle, virtue ethics. It's a spiritual thing. Okay, that we need to basically conduct ourselves in a way that we will be happy. And if we follow the ontological things, our duty as Muslims, the ontological, one can call it the ontological ethics, but again, it's Islamic ethics. I don't want to confuse people. An axiom that is Islamic, when Allah tells us, وَأَن تَعْدِلُوا أَقْرَبُ لِلتَّقْوَى, if you become just, it's closer to God consciousness, you will know even if you're wronged in a court of law and you lose the case. And they say you're guilty. But you know you're innocent. When you go to jail, you'll be at peace from within. Because virtually, through virtue, you have done the right thing. Okay? And you will be happy. No matter what the outcome is. And that's what zuhd is about. No matter what the zuhd, Islamic asceticism, no matter what the outcome is, at least you did the right thing. So when someone tries to beguile you and be like, no, bro, you're going to lose the case. You have 90% chance of losing, especially of this and that. They're not reason. You don't reason ethics. Don't reason morality. You can't. This is consequentialism. It's bull. Okay, consequentialism leads to absurdities. And it won't make you feel at peace if you go through pros and cons. Oh, it's good that I actually lie and say that I did it even though I didn't do it just to get a lesser sentence. That's asinine. Okay? And this is it. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.